Venture deep into the heart of a secluded Greek village, where ancient stones and time-worn paths lead to a mystery as old as the land itself. Here stands a chapel, its walls steeped in the prayers and tears of centuries, and within it, a statue of the Virgin Mary, known as Theotokos, holds a sorrow so profound that her eyes weep blood. Local folklore tells of a haunting weeping that filters through the village at dusk, a sound that pulls at the souls of those who hear it, drawing them towards an unresolved tale of lost love and eternal yearning. This is no ordinary story. It is a chilling blend of devotion and despair, a tale that echoes the heartbeats of the long-departed. As night cloaks the sky and the air grows thick with the scent of olive and myrtle, the faint sound of weeping melts with the wind. Are you brave enough to uncover what lies beneath those sorrowful cries? What secrets does the blood weep? Join me as we unravel the centuries-old curse of the crying statue of Theotokos, and perhaps find redemption not just for the trapped souls, but for ourselves as well. Tighten your resolve, light your lanterns, and let your curiosity lead you into the darkness. This, my friends, is not just a story. It is an invitation to the borders of the unknown. Let's begin. The arrival. In the waning light of a fading day, our protagonist, Alex Rowland, a historian with a penchant for the uncanny, steps off the creaking bus onto the dusty road of a village that time seems to have forgotten. Drawn by whispers of a supernatural phenomenon that stirs beneath the surface of normalcy, Alex arrives in this secluded Greek village, where the past and present are blurred by legends as old as the hills that cradle this hidden enclave. As Alex walks the narrow, cobblestone streets, the air is heavy with a tangible silence, the kind that presses in on the ears and quickens the pulse. The villagers, upon noticing a stranger among them, pause in their tracks. Their eyes are wells of unspoken stories, clouded with caution and a wariness born of a secret shared by the whole village, but never spoken aloud. They are the guardians of a mystery that is not keen on being unraveled. In the village square, under the shadow of an ancient olive tree, Alex approaches an elderly man seated on a low stone wall, his face creased like the leathered pages of an old journal. With a gentle nod, Alex introduces himself, explaining his interest in the local phenomena. The man, after a long, evaluating pause, speaks in a voice roughened by the winds of many winters. "You speak of things that are best left alone," he murmurs, casting a cautious glance towards the chapel at the end of the square, where the silhouette of the weeping statue casts a long shadow even in daylight. The chapel, a modest stone building crowned with a time-worn cross, beckons. As Alex moves closer, he feels the palpable shift in the air, a coolness that wraps around his spine. The villagers watch from a distance, their expressions painted with a blend of fear and resignation. They are silent sentinels, bound by what they know and what they fear to reveal. At the threshold of the chapel, Alex pauses, the scent of incense and old stone filling his senses. He turns back to look at the villagers. An old woman, her eyes dark pools of knowing, nods slowly, as if granting permission, or perhaps a warning. Her gaze suggests that what lies within could change not just the course of Alex's inquiries, but the very essence of his beliefs. With a deep breath, Alex pushes open the heavy wooden door, its hinges groaning under the weight of secrets kept too long. Inside, the chapel is dimly lit by flickering candlelight, casting dancing shadows that play upon the walls like spirits at twilight. And there, in the sanctity of this sacred space, stands the statue of Theotokos, her face beautiful and sorrowful, when streaks of dried blood tracing paths down her porcelain cheeks. The air around her is colder, charged with a silent sob that seems to echo through the very stones of the chapel. This is where our story begins, at the edge of belief, in the heart of a village wrapped in silence and secrets. What draws the blood to weep from stone? What causes the air to chill, and the locals to speak in hushed tones? These are the questions that ignite Alex's quest. As the night draws in, wrapping the village in its dark embrace, whispering that some mysteries are born of the deepest human emotions, love, loss, and the unending quest for redemption. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the shadows of the past, uncovering the layers of a story as chilling as it is profound. This is not just a journey into the supernatural, but an exploration of the human heart, forever entwined with the inexplicable and the eternal. First encounter. As Alex steps into the chill embrace of the chapel, the door swings shut behind him with a solemn thud that reverberates through the hallowed halls, sealing him inside this ancient place of worship. The only light comes from the flickering candles, casting trembling shadows against the walls that seem to breathe with a life of their own. The air is thick, imbued with the scent of incense and a faint, metallic hint of blood. Alex's eyes slowly adjust to the dim light, and there, in the heart of the chapel, stands the statue of Theotokos. She is a figure of both beauty and sorrow, her features exquisitely carved, capturing an eternal anguish that tugs at the soul. As he approaches, the air grows inexplicably colder, a cold that seeps into his bones, chilling him from the inside out. Drawn closer by an unseen force, Alex stands before the statue, his eyes fixed on the face of Theotokos. There is a palpable stillness, as if time itself has paused in respect, or perhaps in fear. Then, It begins the faintest sound at first, like the whisper of wind through fallen leaves. It grows slowly, a mournful wailing that does not seem entirely human. It fills the chapel, echoing off the stone walls, a cry that carries with it the weight of uncountable sorrows. As the weeping grows louder, Alex notices the first drop of blood welling in the statue's stone eyes. It is bright red against the pallor of her cheeks, vibrant and unsettlingly real. The drop grows heavier, quivering slightly before it traces a slow path down her face. More drops follow, each one a silent testament to a grief too great to bear silently. The sight is mesmerizing, horrifying. Alex reaches out a tentative hand, compelled to confirm the reality of what his eyes see. His fingertips brush the statue's cheek, cold and smooth, and come away stained with blood. The touch brings an electric rush of fear, and the weeping sound intensifies, surrounding him, pressing in with a tangible despair. Around him, the shadows seem to sift, growing denser, darker. The candles flicker wildly as if caught in an unfelt breeze, and for a moment, Alex feels he is not alone. There are whispers now, just at the edge of hearing, words spoken in a language he cannot understand but feels deep in his marrow. Fear grips him, a primal, icy claw that tightens around his heart. He knows he should leave, should flee this place and its spectral sorrow. But his feet are rooted, his soul ensnared by the haunting melody of Theotokos' cries. He is caught in the grip of something ancient, something that knows his name, his very essence. As the weeping slowly subsides, sinking back into the silent sanctity of the chapel, Alex finds himself released from its hold. He steps back, breath ragged, heart pounding a fierce rhythm against his ribs. The blood on his fingers has dried, the color darkening, a stark reminder of the reality of his encounter. This first visit to the chapel leaves Alex shaken, filled with more questions than answers. What power binds the statue to reap blood? What sorrow compels such a manifestation? As he steps back into the night, the air outside feels warmer compared to the chill of the chapel. But the warmth does not touch the cold fear that has settled in his heart. In the quiet of the night, as Alex walks away from the chapel, the weight of what he has witnessed hangs heavy on him. The village sleeps, but for Alex, sleep will not come easy. The echoes of reaping haunt the edges of his mind, a sorrowful lullaby for a restless night. Local legends. In the aftermath of his chilling encounter at the chapel, Alex spends the following day wandering the village, its sun-drenched streets belying the shadowy secrets it harbors. The villagers, initially hesitant, begin to open up, their stories weaving a rich tapestry of history and myth around the statue of Theotokos. As Alex visits the quaint local cafe, an informal gathering place rimmed with worn, wooden tables and chairs. He is approached by an old woman named Eleni, with silver hair pulled back into a tight bun, and eyes sharp as flint. Eleni has the air of someone who has lived through stories, rather than merely heard them. She invites Alex to sit with her, and over cups of strong Greek coffee, she begins to recount the tale that has shaped the heart of their village. Many centuries ago, Eleni starts, her voice a soft murmur that commands attention. There was a young woman in this village, Maria, known for her beauty and kind spirit. She fell deeply in love with a soldier, Nicholas, who was stationed here during a time of war. Their love was a beacon of hope in those dark times, a pure flame that burned brightly against the shadow of conflict. But as these stories go, tragedy was never far. Nicholas was called to a battle from which he never returned. His death was a cruel blow to Maria, who never believed he could be gone. Her heart refused to accept it, and her spirit broke under the weight of her grief. Here, Eleni pauses, sipping her coffee, letting the silence hang heavy before she continues. They say Maria went to the chapel every day, praying to Theotokos for his return, her tears never ceasing. Then one morning, they found her there, lifeless before the statue, her own tears mingled with blood on her cheeks. The village was swept with a wave of sorrow and fear. Not long after Maria's death, the statue began to reap blood. At first, it was dismissed as a trick of the light, or perhaps the work of a disturbed soul. But as years turned into decades, and the weeping continued, it became clear that something otherworldly was at play. Eleni leans closer, lowering her voice, as if the walls themselves might overhear. Some say it is Maria's spirit that infuses the statue, her grief so powerful that it transcends death. Others believe that Nicholas's spirit is restless, unable to find peace without his beloved. And there are those who whisper of a curse, she adds, a note of caution threading through her words. They curse laid upon the lovers and this village for reasons long forgotten. Alex listens, captivated and disturbed by the legend. It's a story woven with the threads of love, loss, and supernatural influence, casting a new light on his eerie experience at the chapel. But Eleni's tale, while rich with detail, seems to hint at something left unsaid, a piece of the puzzle kept hidden. As they part ways, Eleni's parting words hang in the air like a chill draft. Be careful, young man. Some truths are better left undiscovered. And remember, not all spirits are keen on revealing their secrets. With new leads to follow and warnings to consider, Alex feels the weight of the mystery deepen. The village, with its scenic beauty and rustic charm, now appears to him as a labyrinth of secrets, each turn and shadow holding the echo of a long-lost love, and a haunting that refuses to be forgotten. The question of what truly binds the spirit to the statue remains, pulling him further into the depths of the village's past. historical echoes. The next morning, under a sky heavy with the promise of rain, Alex makes his way back to the chapel. His mind churns with the legends Selene shared, each step bringing him closer to what he hopes will be answers. The chapel door, old and weathered, creaks open, as if reluctant to let the past be disturbed. Inside, the air holds a chill that seems to seep into Alex's bones, a constant reminder of the supernatural presence he feels lurking within these sacred walls. The priest, Father Stavros, a stooped figure with a kindly face and eyes that seem to have witnessed much sorrow, greets him. Alex explains his quest for knowledge about the weeping statue and the tale of Maria and Nicholas, with a sigh that seems to carry the weight of many years. Father Stavros agrees to help and leads Alex to a small, dusty room at the back of the chapel where the archives are kept. As they enter the dimly lit room, shelves lined with ancient manuscripts and faded leather-bound books greet them. The musty smell of old paper fills the air, a testament to generations of history preserved within these walls. Father Stavros points to a collection of manuscripts that are particularly old, their pages yellowed with age. Here, he says, his voice low, almost reverent, these might hold what you seek. Alex spends hours poring over the manuscripts, his fingers trembling as he turns each fragile page. He discovers an old diary entry written by a priest who served in the chapel during the time of Maria and Nicholas. The entry confirms Elene's tale, but reveals more about the depth of their love and the community's reaction to their tragedy. The diary describes how Maria, devastated by Nicholas's death, would come to the chapel daily, her prayers filled with anguish. It details one particular night when a great storm swept through the village, mirroring the storm within Maria as she cried out to the heavens for her beloved. The next morning, the priest found her lifeless body before the statue, her tears of blood a stark contrast to her pale skin. As Alex reads further, he uncovers mention of a curse, an ancient curse said to have been invoked unintentionally by the depth of Maria's grief, binding her spirit to the chapel and to the statue. The diary hints at dark rituals believed to be able to lift such curses, but notes that no one was brave enough to attempt them, fearing the wrath of the spirits involved. The manuscripts also speak of a mysterious figure, a woman known only as the Keeper, who appeared in the village shortly after the tragedy. She was said to have knowledge of ancient rites, and was both revered and feared by the villagers. Her entries in the diary suggest she might have tried to intervene, to alter the course of the curse. But what became of her remains a mystery, the details frustratingly vague. With each revelation, the chapel seems to grow colder, the shadows deeper. Alex feels a gaze upon him, unseen but palpable, as if the spirits whispered about in the manuscripts are watching, listening. The weight of the chapel's history presses down on him, the air thick with the echoes of the past. Emerging from the archives as evening falls, the light fading from the sky, Alex is more determined than ever to uncover the truth. He feels a connection to Maria's tragic tale, her loss resonant with the loneliness he has felt in his own life. But with knowledge comes responsibility, and Alex is now aware that unraveling this mystery may require more than just scholarly research. It may require confronting the very essence of love and loss that seems to haunt the chapel. As he leaves the archives, the last light of day casts long shadows across the chapel floor, and Alex can't shake the feeling that something, or someone, is watching him depart. The mystery of the weeping statue deepens, wrapping its chains tighter around his resolve to find answers, no matter the cost. Night whispers. As night envelops the village, a deep silence settles over the narrow, winding streets, a silence that feels almost tangible, heavy with anticipation. Alex lies in his modest room at the village inn, the events of the day replaying in his mind. The tales of Maria and Nicholas, the mysterious keeper, and accused statue have woven a complex tapestry of fear and intrigue that clings to his thoughts, refusing to be shaken. As sleep finally claims him, the line between the waking world and dreams blurs. Alex finds himself standing in the village, but it is not the village as he knows it. It's older, the edges of his vision tinged with the sepia tones of a bygone era. He walks the streets under the light of flickering lanterns, the air thick with the scent of rain and wood smoke. Suddenly, a soft sob breaks the silence, pulling him towards the chapel. As he approaches, the doors swing open silently, revealing the shadowed interior lit only by candlelight. There, before the statue of Theotokos, kneels a figure shrouded in a black veil. It is Maria, her shoulders shaking with each heart-wrenching sob. Beside her, a spectral figure in a soldier's uniform, Nicholas, stands, his hand reaching out towards her, but never touching. The sorrow in the scene is palpable, a grief so real and consuming that Alex feels it as a physical ache in his chest. As he watches, frozen, the scene shifts, and the chapel fades into darkness. Now, he hears voices, whispering urgently in a language he cannot understand. The voices grow louder, desperate, pleading. A chill runs down his spine as the whispers become a cacophony, surrounding him, pressing in with urgent intensity. He tries to move, to escape, but his feet are rooted to the spot. Without warning, the voices cease, and a new figure emerges from the shadows, an old woman with piercing eyes. The keeper. She approaches Alex, her gaze intense. "The bond must be broken," she says in a voice that reverberates deep in his soul. "Seek the ritual. Follow the path of the waning moon." Her words hang in the air as she dissolves into mist, and with her disappearance, the dream begins to fracture. Alex awakens with a start, his heart pounding, the echo of the keeper's words still ringing in his ears. His room seems unnaturally cold. The shadows too deep, too still. He gets up, moving to the window, peering out into the night. The village is quiet, but for a moment, he thinks he sees a figure standing by the chapel, watching. Blinking, he looks again. But the figure is gone, leaving him to wonder if his eyes are playing tricks, or if the ghostly apparitions have followed him from his dreams into reality. Shaken, he sits back on the bed, trying to make sense of the dream. The vividness of the apparitions, the emotional intensity, and a cryptic message from the keeper, it all felt alarmingly real. The urgency in your words suggests a path forward, a way to perhaps resolve the haunting and free the spirits of Maria and Nicholas. As dawn breaks, bringing light to dispel the shadows of the night, Alex is left with a new resolve. He must delve deeper into the village's past, uncover the nature of the ritual the keeper spoke of, and understand how to break the curse that binds the Luthers. Each whispered voice and spectral vision drives him further into the mystery, pulling him closer to either profound truth or consuming madness. The boundary between the two, he realizes, is terrifyingly thin. The blood trail. As the sunrise is over the village, casting long shadows and golden hues across the ancient cobblestones, Alex's thoughts remain ensnared by the mysteries unveiled in his haunting dreams. Determined to seek answers, he decides to start with the most tangible clue: the blood tears shed by the statue of Theotokos. Carrying a small sample of the dried blood he had collected from his initial visit to the chapel, Alex meets with a local doctor, Dr. Costas, who possesses a curious mind and a small laboratory equipped enough for basic tests. The doctor, intrigued by Alex's story, agrees to analyze the sample. As they await the results, Alex recounts the legend of Maria and Nicholas, and the insights from his dream about the keeper and the ritual. After several tense hours, Dr. Costas emerges with the findings. His face is pale, his usual calm demeanor replaced with a mix of astonishment and concern. "It's human blood," he reveals, his voice barely above a whisper. "And it's relatively fresh, which is impossible given your account of the statue's reaping." The revelation sends a shiver down Alex's spine, amplifying the enigma of the crying statue. How could a stone effigy weep fresh human blood? The scientific impossibility of the situation adds layers to the mystery, suggesting that supernatural forces are indeed at play. Fueled by this unsettling discovery, Alex returns to the chapel, his resolve hardened. He needs to understand the full extent of the supernatural phenomena and its connection to the ancient curse spoken of in the legends. His investigation leads him to examine the chapel more closely, particularly areas that seem unusual or out of place. As he explores, Alex notices faint outlines in the dust on the floor near the altar, suggesting that sections of the wall may have been moved recently. His curiosity piqued, he pushes against the cold stone, and to his astonishment, a section gives way, revealing a narrow passage hidden behind the chapel walls. The air that rushes out is cool and musty, filled with the scent of earth long undisturbed. With only the light from his flashlight to guide him, Alex ventures into the hidden passage. The walls are lined with ancient carvings that depict various ritualistic scenes, processions, offerings, and celestial alignments. The further he walks, the more the carvings begin to depict scenes of sorrow and reunion, echoing the tragic love story of Maria and Nicholas. At the end of the passage, Alex finds a small, secluded chamber. In the center lies an altar, upon which rests an array of ritualistic artifacts, candles, ceremonial knives, and a collection of personal belongings, presumably once belonging to Maria and Nicholas. It seems this hidden chamber might have been used by the keeper or others before her to perform rituals intended to break the curse or communicate with the spirits bound to the chapel. The discovery of the hidden passages and the ritual chamber provides Alex with crucial insights into the practices that took place in secret, far from the prying eyes of the village. It becomes clear that these rituals were deeply intertwined with the village's history and its inhabitants' attempts to deal with their collective grief and supernatural afflictions. As Alex exits the passage, the weight of his discoveries bears down upon him. The reality of the situation is more complex and dangerous than he had ever imagined. Armed with new knowledge but also burdened with new fears, he realizes that solving this mystery might require more than just uncovering the past. It might mean engaging with forces that defy human understanding. The chapter closes as Alex stands in the fading light of the chapel, the shadows around him seeming to whisper secrets of the past, urging him to find the missing pieces of a puzzle that has tormented this village for centuries. The lovers' pact as dusk falls over the village, casting a soft, melancholic light through the stained glass windows of the chapel. Alex delves deeper into the crypt beneath the sacred building. His discovery of the hidden passages and ritual chamber has led him to this ancient, dust-laden room, where the air feels thick with history and sorrow. Amid the crypt's shadows, he finds an old, iron-bound chest hidden under layers of cobwebs and decades of neglect. With a mixture of reverence and urgency, Alex opens the chest to reveal its contents: several artifacts, old vestments, and a small, leather-bound diary. The diary is fragile, its cover cracked, and pages yellowed with age. But the writing within is still legible. It belonged to Maria. the tragic figure at the heart of the village's haunting. Her words promise to unveil the depth of the curse and the true story of the doomed lovers. As he turns the delicate pages, Alex reads Maria's first-hand account of her love for Nicholas. The entries speak of their deep, unwavering connection and their plans for a future together once the war ended. But as the pages progress, the tone shifts dramatically. The war takes a dire turn, and Nicholas is called to a decisive battle. Maria writes of a foreboding feeling, a premonition of doom that she struggles to shake off. The diary reveals that Nicholas was indeed killed, but not as a hero in battle, as the official records stated. He was executed by his own comrades under false accusations of treason, a victim of jealousy and deceit. Maria's entries following the news are filled with despair and an unyielding denial of his death. She writes of seeing visions of Nicholas, hearing his voice in the wind, and feeling his presence in the shadows of the chapel where they had often met secretly. One entry stands out, a vow made by Maria that resonates with a chilling intensity. I will wait for him, forever if I must, for our souls are bound by a love that transcends even death. I will find a way to bring him back to me, to prove his innocence, and reunite our spirits. It becomes clear to Alex that Maria's grief and her unwavering belief in their bond may have triggered the curse, or at least contributed to the supernatural phenomena surrounding the chapel. Her relentless spirit, unable to move on, seems to have become entwined with the very fabric of the place, her sorrow manifesting as the blood tears of the statue. The diary also mentions a mysterious figure, possibly the keeper, who approached Maria with promises of a ritual that could summon Nicholas's spirit back to the physical world. Maria's final entries detail her preparation for this ritual, her hope mingling with desperation. Alex closes the diary, the weight of the tragic love story settling heavily upon him. The injustice done to Nicholas and Maria's undying love have woven a complex tapestry of grief and supernatural bindings that has held the village in its grip for centuries. As he emerges from the crypt, the night feels alive with whispered echoes of the past. Alex knows that to free the spirits of Maria and Nicholas and lift the curse, he must follow the clues left in Maria's diary and unravel the specifics of the ritual she attempted. The task is daunting, filled with unknowns, but Alex feels a responsibility to the lovers, whose story of love and injustice has transcended time, binding them to an endless waiting. The chapter closes with Alex standing outside the chapel, under the vast expanse of the starry sky, feeling both the weight of history and a call to right the wrongs of the past. His next steps are unclear, but his path is irrevocably tied to the fate of the cursed lovers, and he is determined to bring their souls the peace they have been denied for so long. rituals, and redemption. The night air is crisp as Alex walks back to the village, the moon casting long, ghostly shadows that seem to dance around him, echoing his turbulent thoughts. In his hands, he clutches Maria's diary, its secrets now his burden and his mission. Determined to break the cycle of grief and release the spirits of Maria and Nicholas, Alex seeks the wisdom of Eleni, the old villager who first told him of the legend, and who now seems to be his only link to understanding the ancient rites that might free these tortured souls. Under the flickering light of a single lamp in her modest home, Eleni listens intently as Alex shares his discoveries. Her face, lined with the years of life's experiences, betrays a flicker of fear as he mentions the ritual Maria intended to perform. "It is a dangerous path you consider walking, young man," she warns, her voice a mixture of concern and respect. "Such rituals were forbidden for a reason. They can unleash forces we can scarcely comprehend." Despite her warning, Eleni understands the importance of ending the suffering and a curse that has plagued their village for generations. With a resigned sigh, she retrieves an old, dusty book from a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. "This contains what you seek," she says, handing the book to Alex. The cover isn't marked, but inside, the pages are filled with arcane symbols and rituals, some of which mirror the descriptions in Maria's diary. Over the next few days, Alex and Eleni, joined by a few skeptical villagers who have come to believe in Alex's quest, prepare for the ritual. They gather the necessary materials: candles made from beeswax, silver amulets, and an assortment of herbs known for their purification properties. Each item is prepared with care, charged with the collective hope of not just ending the haunting, but also healing the community. As the night of the ritual approaches, the atmosphere in the village grows tense. The air seems charged with electricity, the wind whispering secrets through the trees. Alex feels the weight of his responsibility. Not only is he attempting to free the spirits of Maria and Nicholas, but he is also meddling with forces that have been at rest for centuries. The ritual is to take place in a chapel at midnight, under the light of a waning moon, as dictated by the ancient texts. The villagers gather, forming a circle around the chapel, with Alex and Eleni at the center, near the statue of Theotokos. The statue, illuminated by the soft light of their torches, seems almost to watch them, her sorrowful expression a silent plea for peace. With the chapel doors closed behind them, Alex begins the ritual. He recites the incantations written in the old book, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. Eleni and the others join in, their voices a unified chant that fills the chapel with sound, resonating through the stone walls and echoing up into the dark recesses of the ancient ceiling. As the ritual reaches its climax, the air inside the chapel shifts, becoming cooler, denser. A low hum begins to fill the room. The candles flicker wildly, and the statue of Theotokos appears to weep once more, though now it is not blood that falls from her eyes, but clear, shimmering tears. Alex feels a presence beside him, a warmth that grows stronger, more tangible. He dares to look to his side, and there, in a fleeting, breathtaking moment, he sees the apparitions of Maria and Nicholas. They stand hand in hand, their expressions no longer marked by sorrow, but by a serene gratitude. With a final, whispered thank you, they fade away, the ritual complete. The villagers, witnessing this miraculous occurrence, are speechless, a mix of disbelief and relief washing over them as they realize the haunting has ended. The curse is broken, the spirits freed. As dawn breaks over the village, a new day begins. Alex, exhausted but elated, watches the sunrise, feeling the first true peace he's felt since arriving. The shadows retreat, the whispers quiet, and for the first time in centuries, the chapel and the village are silent. The curse lifted, replaced by a hopeful tranquility. The final night. The village is cloaked in a tense silence as the blood moon rises, its crimson glow casting an eerie light over the chapel. Tonight is the culmination of Alex's journey, a night charged with the hope and fears of an entire village. All eyes on the sacred building where history's weight has long pressed down. As the moon reaches its zenith, Alex and the villagers, their faces etched with lines of worry and wonder, gather inside the chapel. The air is thick with the scent of myrrh and sage, herbs scattered on the stone floor to cleanse and protect. Candles flicker in the moonlight streaming through the windows, their flames casting dancing shadows against the walls. Alex begins the ritual, his voice clear and strong as he recites the ancient incantations. Eleni stands by his side, her presence reassuring force amidst the growing storm of spiritual energy. The villagers encircle them, each person holding a candle, their flames a barrier against the darkness that starts to creep from the corners of the chapel. As the ritual intensifies, the air inside the chapel becomes charged, the atmosphere thickening until it is almost suffocating. The statue of Theotokos, at the center of their circle, begins to tremble subtly, her stone visage distorted by the wavering light. Then, without warning, the supernatural forces held at bay for centuries surge forth. The candles flicker out one by one, plunging the chapel into near darkness, illuminated only by the blood-red moonlight. A cold wind howls through the building, extinguishing the last of the candles, and whipping the villagers' hair and clothes into a frenzy. Alex's voice falters for a moment, but he finds strength in the determined faces of the villagers, their unity in the face of fear rekindling his resolve. Visions appear before them all, spectral images of Maria and Nicholas's life together, their secret meetings, their whispered vows, their desperate sorrow. The scenes play out like ghosts of the past, fleeting and translucent but achingly real. The visions grow more intense, showing Nicholas's unjust death, Maria's despair, and her lonely vigil at the chapel, each moment etched with pain and injustice. Amidst these terrifying apparitions, the statue of Theotokos weeps blood once more, the droplets glowing bright red against her pale stone cheeks. But as Alex continues the ritual, his voice now a commanding echo in the tumult, the blood turns to tears, clear and sparkling under the blood moon's light. The climax of the ritual comes with a deafening silence, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Then, a blinding light bursts from the statue, enveloping the chapel in a warm, cleansing glow. The visions dissipate, the wind dies down, and the candles spontaneously relight, their flames steady and strong. In the serene aftermath, the villagers look around in awe. The statue of Theotokos, the epicenter of their fears and prayers, no longer weeps. Her expression seems peaceful, a silent benediction for the bravery and faith of the community. Alex and Eleni, their faces wet with tears of relief, embrace, knowing their efforts have unbound the souls of Maria and Nicholas. As the chapel doors open, the cool night air feels different, fresher, as if a long-held breath has been released. Outside, the blood moon still hangs in the sky, but its red light now seems less ominous, more a symbol of triumph over darkness. The villagers step out into the dawn, their hearts lighter, their spirits freed from the shackles of an ancient curse. The statue's cessation of reaping marks a new beginning for the village, a future unshadowed by the past's grief. Alex, looking back at the chapel one last time, feels a profound connection to this place, forever changed by its history, but now hopeful for its future. Aftermath. As the first rays of dawn streak across the sky, casting light on the chapel and its surroundings, the village awakens to a day like no other. For the first time in centuries, the air is free of the heavy burden of sorrow and mystery that once cloaked every corner. The villagers, emerging from their homes, gather in the square, their faces reflecting a cautious relief. The absence of the weeping statue's cries acts as a silent confirmation that the curse that bound their village to a perpetual cycle of sorrow has indeed been broken. Alex stands apart, watching the familiar scenes unfold with new eyes. Children play near the chapel, unafraid of the haunting that once made their parents cross the square with hurried steps. The elderly sit on their porches, their conversations no longer hushed with fear, but bright with stories of last night's miraculous events. The village, while visually unchanged, holds a new rhythm in its heartbeat, a rhythm born of released fears and renewed hopes. As he observes the transformation, Alex reflects on the enormity of what has transpired. The ritual, the breaking of the curse, the spectral visions, and a final release of Maria and Acolus's spirits. Each element weaves into a story that is as much a part of the village's fabric as the stones of the chapel. He realizes that this story, which in its tapestry of love, tragedy, and redemption, must not be lost to the winds of time. Determined to preserve this history, Alex sets up his makeshift workspace in the small room he rents above the village cafe. He begins documenting everything: the legends, the personal testimonies of the villagers, his findings in the chapel's archives, and, most crucially, the events of the ritual night. His notes, once scattered, become organized into chapters, each a testament to the village's journey through darkness and into light. His writing is meticulous, driven by the urgency to capture the essence of the story. He includes descriptions of the blood moon, the airy calm after the storm, and a collective breath of relief breathed by the entire village. He writes about Eleni, whose wisdom and warnings guided him, and the skeptical villagers, whose courage turned them into allies. Each character is rendered with care, their fears and hopes painted in vivid detail. As the days pass, Alex's document grows into a comprehensive account. He interviews villagers, gathering more layers of the story from those who had lived in fear of the curse, and now relive the moments of their liberation. Their stories, varied in perspective, but united in emotion, add depth and reality to his narrative. In the quiet of the evening, Alex reads over his work, feeling a profound connection to the words that flow from his pen. The document is more than just a recounting of events. It is a bridge between the past and the future, a balm for wounds old and new. It is his gift to the village, a symbol of gratitude for the peace they have found and the history they shared with him. As the final page is written, Alex feels a sense of completion, a chapter closed not just in his life, but in the life of a village reborn. He plans to leave a copy in a local library and send others to historical societies and archives, ensuring the story of the Crying Statue of Theotokos lives on. The chapter closes with Alex packing his belongings, ready to leave the village that has become a part of him. He takes one last walk to the chapel, standing before the now serene statue of Theotokos. He whispers his thanks, leaving behind the echoes of a curse broken and a story immortalized, his journey woven indelibly into the legacy of a village forever changed. Departure. The morning of his departure arrives with a soft, gentle rain, the skies weeping as if in farewell to Alex, who has come to mean so much to the heart of this village. With his bags packed, he takes a moment to stand at the threshold of the inn, looking out over the streets where shadows once danced with secrets. Now, they glisten under the caress of rain, washed anew, as is the spirit of the place. As he walks through the village for the last time, Alex feels the weight of every step, each one echoing the journey he has taken not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. The villagers, who once eyed him with suspicion, now nod with respect and gratitude. Their smiles, free from the shadows of fear, are gifts of their newfound peace, reflections of a curse lifted and a community reborn. Stopping by the chapel, Alex places his hand on a cold, damp stone. Here, at this sacred site, he faced the unknown, wrestled with the ghosts of the past, and saw firsthand the tangible impact of belief and ritual. He respects the supernatural more deeply now, aware of its power to bind or free, to haunt or heal. This chapel, a silent witness to centuries of silent prayers, and now to the liberation of tormented souls, stands as a testament to the enduring need for closure and redemption. Inside, the statue of Theotokos no longer weeps. In the quiet of the chapel, Alex reflects on the profound journey of Maria and Nicholas, a tale of love lost and found in the most extraordinary of ways. He thinks of the villagers, whose lives have been intertwined with this legend, each generation inheriting the weight of unresolved emotions, a reminder of how deeply human feelings can root themselves, influencing lives beyond the reach of time. As he leaves the chapel, Alex's thoughts turn to the broader implications of his experiences. He contemplates the power of unresolved emotions, like those of Maria, whose unyielding love and grief held an entire village in a spectral grip. He considers the universal desire for redemption, not just for oneself, but for loved ones lost. This village, once haunted by a centuries-old curse, found its redemption through a collective courage and the unraveling of a long-buried truth. The rain stops as Alex reaches the edge of the village, the clouds parting to reveal a sky of clearest blue. It's as if the world itself approves of his journey, sanctioning his departure with a promise of new beginnings. With a final look back, he feels a mix of sadness and relief, a poignant goodbye to a place that will forever live in the pages of his document, shared with the world, but kept closely in his heart. As the bus pulls away, taking Alex away from the village and towards his next adventure, he feels a chapter of his life closing. He carries forward a richer understanding of the human condition, touched by the past's mysteries, and enlightened by the spiritual connections he uncovered. His final thoughts linger on the power of stories to heal, to bind across time and space, and to reveal the deepest truths of our existence. The chapter and the story closes with the bus fading into the distance, the village receding from view, but never from memory, its lessons etched deeply within Alex's soul, a reminder of the light that can emerge from the shadows of the unexplained. return. As the landscape blurs past the window of the bus, Alex's mind is far from still, while the village and its once reaping chapel recede into the distance. The echoes of its mysteries linger, a quiet murmur in the back of his mind. The documents and notes he carries with him are more than just a record. They are a map of human emotion, a testament to the power of the unseen and unexplained. But as one chapter ends, the pages of another beckon. Alex's journey into the supernatural has opened more than just the doors of a haunted chapel. It has opened his eyes to a world brimming with other untold stories, each waiting for their moment in the light. His curiosity, now more insatiable than ever, draws him forward. In a quiet cafe during a layover, as Alex reviews his writings, a stranger approaches, a woman, her eyes holding depths of knowledge and hints of unseen burdens, places before him an old, leather-bound book. "I think you might be interested in this," she says, her voice a mix of mystery and urgency. The book's title is faded, but the image on a cover, a clock entwined with ghostly vines, promises tales of time-bound spirits and purses that to be broken. With a polite nod, the woman adds, "Every story leads to another, and some doors, once opened, reveal paths that we are compelled to follow." Her words hang in the air, a gentle but undeniable invitation to delve deeper into the realms of folklore and the paranormal. As the woman departs as mysteriously as she appeared, Alex flips through the book. The pages whisper of a coastal town where the tides bring whispers from a sunken city, and of an ancient forest where shadows move against the will of the wind. Each story is a thread in the larger tapestry of the supernatural, each a beacon calling to him from the fog of the unknown. Sitting back, Alex feels the pull of these new mysteries. The village may now rest in peace, but the world is vast, and its shadows are deep and filled with tales waiting to be told. His heart quickens with the thrill of the chase, the pursuit of truth in the face of fear, and the unending quest to uncover what lies beneath the surface of our understanding. The epilogue closes as the bus rolls on, carrying Alex towards new adventures. The horizon stretches wide before him, a challenge and a promise rolled into one. The stories of the supernatural, like the spirits they speak of, are not confined to one place or one time. They are everywhere, woven into the fabric of human existence. And as long as curiosity thrives, the journey into the heart of these mysteries will continue. For Alex, and for us, the road stretches onward, shadowed and unknown, but irresistibly compelling. As our journey through the shadows and mysteries of the small Greek village comes to a close, we part ways with Alex, whose own journey is far from over. What began as a simple inquiry into a local legend unfolded into a profound exploration of love, loss, and the eternal quest for redemption. Alongside Alex, we delved into ancient rites, faced spirits bound by timeless grief, and witnessed the power of a community's resolve to mend the broken seams of its haunted past. But the story does not end here. As we have learned, each answer uncovered in the dim light of the unknown only leads to more questions, more mysteries to explore. The world is rich with tales that challenge our understanding, and invite us to believe in the extraordinary. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of fear and fascination. While we leave behind the village and its newly silent chapel, we carry forward the echoes of its lessons, reminders of the thin veils between worlds, the deep currents of human emotion, and the unending human drive to connect with the beyond. So, keep your mind open and your lanterns lit as you navigate the mysteries of your own paths. Until our next adventure into the unknown, remember, the shadows hold more than just fear. They hold stories waiting to be told. Goodbye for now, dear listeners, and keep listening, for the next story is just around the corner.